Do you remember the stores that used to fill our neighborhoods? The ones that seemed ordinary at the time, but now feel like treasures of memory? Places where kids pressed their noses to the glass, parents hunted for deals, and communities quietly came together. These were the shops that shaped daily life, from groceries to toys, fashion to music, and now they're gone, lost to time and changing trends. Let's take a walk down memory lane and revisit 21 Canadian stores that only true Canadians remember. Eaton's, nationwide. Few names in Canadian retail evoke as much nostalgia as Eaton's. Established in 1869 by Timothy Eaton in Toronto, the company grew from a small dry goods store into a nationwide retail empire that shaped shopping, culture, and daily life for generations of Canadians. Eaton's was more than a department store. It was a symbol of reliability, quality, and community. Its catalog, often referred to as the Wish Book, arrived like a treasure trove in mailboxes across the country, bringing distant corners of Canada closer together and giving families a shared experience of discovery and anticipation. For many, flipping through those pages was a weekly ritual, an opportunity to imagine a better home, a fancier wardrobe, or a treat for the children. Walking into an Eaton store was an experience in itself. The polished floors, sparkling displays, and neatly arranged merchandise created a sense of occasion, even for everyday shopping. From the cosmetics counters to the menswear, the home furnishings to the toys, Eaton's curated its offerings with care and attention to quality. It was a place where you could find everything under one roof, from fine china to winter coats, often accompanied by friendly and knowledgeable staff who guided shoppers with a personal touch. Seasonal displays became landmarks of Canadian life. Holiday windows, spring collections, and the famous Eaton Santa Claus Parade fostered traditions that extended beyond mere shopping. Eaton's was also about accessibility and aspiration. While it carried high-end lines and luxury goods, it was equally committed to serving the everyday shopper, balancing affordability with style. The catalog allowed even rural families to access products that otherwise would have been out of reach, democratizing fashion, home goods, and toys across a vast and diverse country. For children, Eaton's was magical. The toy department felt like a miniature kingdom, and seeing a doll or a train set in the catalog could ignite a year's worth of dreams. For adults, it was a trusted source for practical goods, and a place where quality and reliability mattered. Yet, Eaton's story is also one of change and decline. By the late 20th century, the rise of big box retailers, shifting consumer habits, and financial struggles challenged the company's dominance. Despite attempts to modernize and adapt, Eaton's could not withstand the pressures of a rapidly evolving retail landscape. Its eventual closure in 1999 marked the end of an era, leaving behind a deep sense of nostalgia for a time when shopping was an experience, not just a transaction. People remember not just the goods, but the memories. The excitement of the catalog arriving in the mail, the special outings with family, and the sense of connection to a broader Canadian community. Looking back, Eaton's stands as a symbol of a different era in retail, one where department stores were cultural hubs, where customer service and community mattered, and where shopping was entwined with memory and imagination. In today's world of online ordering and anonymous chain stores, Eaton's reminds Canadians of the joy and ritual of discovery, the charm of thoughtful merchandising, and the enduring impact a single store can have on a nation's collective memory. Simpsons, Toronto. Simpsons in Toronto was more than just a department store. It was a cornerstone of the city's retail culture and a symbol of sophistication for decades. Established in the 1870s, Simpsons grew to become a beloved destination for fashion-conscious Torontonians, offering an elegant shopping experience that combined style, quality, and service. From the moment customers walked through its doors, they were greeted by polished floors, sparkling displays, and an atmosphere that felt both refined and welcoming. Unlike the generic chain stores that dominate today's streets, Simpsons had character, a personality that reflected the tastes and aspirations of the city itself. The store's appeal lay in its curated selection of merchandise. From tailored suits and designer dresses to fine home goods and luxury accessories, Simpsons offered Canadians access to high-quality products that were often unavailable elsewhere. Shoppers could explore multiple floors of carefully arranged goods, discovering everything from the latest fashion trends to timeless classics. The store's personal service set it apart. Sales staff knew many customers by name, offered advice on style, and ensured that every purchase felt special. Seasonal window displays became city landmarks, drawing crowds eager to see the creativity and detail. And during the holidays, the store transformed into a wonderland that captured the imagination of children and adults alike. Simpsons also played a significant role in shaping Toronto's cultural life. It wasn't just about shopping, it was about experience. Families spent hours browsing, attending in-store events, or simply enjoying the atmosphere. The store reflected a sense of community and sophistication, offering a space where people could gather, explore, and dream. Its presence helped define an era of department stores as not only commercial centers, but also cultural touchstones, spaces that added texture and life to the city. Yet, the story of Simpsons is also a story of change. The rise of big box retailers, the expansion of malls, and shifts in consumer habits eventually challenged the store's dominance. By the late 20th century, Simpsons had been absorbed by larger chains, and its unique identity gradually faded. For many Torontonians, this was a bittersweet loss, a reminder that even the most cherished institutions can disappear, leaving only memories of the elegance, service, and charm that once defined them. People remember more than the merchandise. They remember the feeling of being part of something special, a connection to a city that seemed more personal and human. Looking back, Simpsons stands as a testament to the golden age of Canadian department stores, a period when shopping was both an art and a social experience. Its legacy endures in the collective memory of Toronto, in stories of window displays, attentive staff, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary on a routine shopping trip. In today's era of online ordering and impersonal retail, Simpsons reminds us of the joy that comes from curated spaces, thoughtful service, and the simple pleasure of strolling through a store that feels alive with possibility. Zellers, nationwide. For many Canadians growing up in the latter half of the 20th century, Zellers was more than just a discount store. It was a staple of daily life, a place where families shopped for everything from groceries to clothes, toys, and household essentials. Founded in 1931, Zellers grew into a nationwide chain that promised affordable prices without sacrificing variety or accessibility, making it a cornerstone of Canadian retail. Walking into a Zellers store meant entering a world of practicality and possibility. Long aisles stocked with everyday items, seasonal displays that evoked excitement, and the faint hum of chatter, cash registers, and overhead announcements, creating a familiar soundtrack for shoppers of all ages. What set Zellers apart was its combination of convenience, affordability, and community appeal. The stores were designed to meet the needs of families, offering a wide selection of products under one roof. You could grab groceries for the week, pick up a birthday gift, and browse clothing for the whole family, all in a single trip. Zellers also became synonymous with seasonal traditions, from back-to-school shopping to holiday promotions, with the store's bright displays and promotional flyers inspiring anticipation and joy. The chain was especially beloved for its toy aisles, where children would press their noses to the glass and dream of the treasures they might find, while parents appreciated the balance between quality and price. Zellers' impact went beyond just shopping. It became a social hub in many communities, a place where people bumped into neighbors, shared quick conversations at the checkout, and felt part of a larger Canadian rhythm. The store reflected the ethos of practicality and resourcefulness that defined everyday life. Affordable yet functional items, simple pleasures, and the delight of finding a deal that felt personal. For many, a trip to Zellers was as much about the experience as it was about the purchases, creating memories that lingered long after the store's fluorescent lights were switched off. Despite its popularity, Zellers could not withstand the tidal wave of retail change in the early 21st century. The rise of big box stores like Walmart, shifting consumer habits, and corporate acquisitions gradually eroded its presence. The final closures in the 2000s marked the end of an era, leaving Canadians nostalgic for the store that had been a fixture of childhoods, family shopping trips, and everyday life. Yet, Zellers' legacy endures. In the stories parents tell their children, in the old flyers tucked into scrapbooks, and in the collective memory of a generation for whom a Zellers trip was a small adventure. Looking back, Zellers serves as a reminder of a time when shopping was more than convenience. It was a shared experience, a marker of community, and a reflection of Canadian values like practicality, accessibility, and a touch of whimsy. In today's world of online orders and faceless megastores, Zellers lives on in nostalgia, proof that a discount store could also be a beloved institution. Woolco nationwide. Woolco holds a special place in the memories of many Canadians who grew up in the 1970s and 1980s. As a subsidiary of the American retail giant F.W. Woolworth, Woolco brought the big box shopping experience to Canada long before it became a mainstream concept. With its cavernous aisles, wide-open layout, and fluorescent-lit interior, Woolco was both a wonderland and a practical destination. Families flock there for everything from groceries to clothing, toys, electronics, and seasonal goods, all under one roof. For children, it was a playground of discovery, while parents appreciated the combination of affordability and variety, a rare balance at the time. The store's appeal lay in its simple philosophy: provide a wide range of products at competitive prices, making shopping convenient and efficient for busy Canadian families. Woolco's toy aisles were legendary, especially during the holiday season, filled with colorful options that sparked imagination and excitement. The clothing sections offered practical fashion, often in sizes and styles that accommodated children and adults alike, while household goods, school supplies, and seasonal items completed the picture of a one-stop destination. Staff were generally friendly and helpful, guiding shoppers when needed, and the overall atmosphere was designed to be approachable, welcoming, and family-oriented. Beyond products, Woolco represented a shift in Canadian retail culture. It marked the arrival of the big box store concept, a precursor to today's mega retailers, and changed the way Canadians approached shopping. A trip to Woolco wasn't just about buying necessities. It was an experience, often a full outing for the family. Seasonal promotions, in-store displays, and the sheer scale of the store made each visit memorable. Parents could shop efficiently while children explored, and teenagers often found Woolco to be a social space as well as a retail destination. Its layout and variety encouraged browsing, creating small moments of delight in the everyday act of shopping. Despite its popularity, Woolco's Canadian journey came to an end in the 1990s, when Walmart acquired the chain and transformed many locations to fit its global model. The closure of Woolco stores marked the end of a uniquely Canadian chapter in retail history. Shoppers remembered more than just the products. They remembered the ritual of wandering the aisles, discovering seasonal treasures, and the sense of possibility that came from a store that seemed to have everything under one roof. Today, Woolco is remembered with a mix of nostalgia and admiration. It reminds Canadians of a simpler time in shopping history, when big stores were exciting, welcoming, and deeply integrated into the fabric of community life. In an era dominated by online shopping and impersonal mega retailers, Woolco lives on in memory as a place where affordability met adventure, practicality met delight, and the everyday act of shopping became a cherished family experience. Miracle Mart, Quebec. For Quebecers growing up in the 1960s through the 1980s, Miracle Mart was more than just a department store. It was a local institution that combined practicality, variety, and a touch of charm. Founded as a subsidiary of Steinberg's, the chain aimed to provide affordable shopping across the province, while maintaining a friendly, community-focused atmosphere. Walking into a Miracle Mart was like stepping into a hub of daily life. Bright aisles filled with groceries, clothing, toys, household goods, and seasonal items, all organized to make shopping both convenient and enjoyable. Families relied on Miracle Mart for everything, from weeknight necessities to special treats. And for many, it was a cornerstone of childhood memories and weekend routines. The appeal of Miracle Mart lay in its balance of accessibility and quality. While prices were reasonable, the stores offered a surprising variety of products, often including unique items not found in competing chains. The clothing section featured practical and stylish options for men, women, and children, while the home goods aisles carried everything from kitchenware to decor essentials. Toy sections became miniature wonderlands during holidays, with children pressing their noses to the shelves in excitement, while parents appreciated the affordability and reliability of the merchandise. Even the grocery sections reflected careful curation, offering both staples and specialty products that helped families stretch their budgets without sacrificing quality. Miracle Mart was more than a place to shop. It was a social space, a point of connection in neighborhoods and towns across Quebec. Employees often knew regular customers by name, lending a personal touch to every transaction. Seasonal events, promotions, and in-store displays created moments of excitement that extended beyond mere shopping. Children's visits became little adventures. Families turned errands into outings, and the stores reflected the rhythms of local life in a way that modern retail struggles to replicate. The aisles, the cash registers, and even the signage all carried a sense of familiarity and comfort, making Miracle Mart feel like part of the family routine. Yet, like many beloved Canadian stores, Miracle Mart eventually faced the pressures of changing retail landscapes. Competition from national chains, evolving consumer habits, and the consolidation of Steinberg's operations in the late 1980s led to the gradual closure of stores. For those who grew up with Miracle Mart, its disappearance left a sense of nostalgia for the experiences it provided. More than just shopping, it was the feeling of community, discovery, and the joy of affordable abundance. Today, Miracle Mart lives on in memory as a symbol of Quebec's retail history, a reminder of a time when department stores were central to family life and local culture. It represents the blend of practicality and charm, the balance of affordability and delight, and the way a store could become a meaningful part of everyday life. For many, remembering Miracle Mart is about remembering the rhythm of life itself. The trips, the discoveries, the seasonal excitement, and the sense that shopping could be as much about connection and joy as it was about necessity. Kresge, nationwide. Kresge was a name that resonated with Canadians long before the era of big box superstores and online shopping. Founded in the early 20th century as a five-and-dime store, Kresge offered everyday essentials at affordable prices, making it a cornerstone of small-town and urban retail alike. Its simple premise, quality items at low cost, proved revolutionary at a time when shopping options were limited and choice was a luxury. Walking into a Kresge store meant entering a world where practicality met discovery. Rows of neatly arranged goods, from household items to personal care products, stationery, and small toys, all waiting to be explored. What set Kresge apart was its accessibility and charm. Unlike the impersonal retail chains of today, Kresge stores were often small, community-focused, and staffed by people who knew their customers by name. Shoppers could pop in for a loaf of bread, a notebook, or a pair of socks, and leave with something unexpected that delighted them. A new game for the children, or a handy kitchen gadget. Seasonal displays added flair, whether it was back-to-school specials, Christmas novelties, or summer outdoor essentials. For many Canadians, Kresge wasn't just a store. It was a place of small joys, a predictable yet exciting part of the neighborhood routine. Kresge played an important role in shaping shopping culture in Canada. Its combination of affordability, variety, and convenience influenced how Canadians approached retail, setting the stage for the department stores and discount chains that would follow. The store encouraged exploration and patience. Customers wandered the aisles, compared prices, and discovered items they hadn't thought to buy, creating a shopping experience that felt personal and even a little adventurous. Children were especially captivated by the toy section, where they could marvel at inexpensive treasures, dreaming of possibilities beyond their everyday lives. Despite its popularity, Kresge faced the inevitable pressures of a changing retail landscape. The rise of larger department stores, evolving consumer habits, and the eventual acquisition by Kmart Canada led to the disappearance of Kresge stores from the Canadian scene. For those who grew up shopping there, the closure marked the end of an era, a shift from intimate, community-centered shopping to the impersonal efficiency of modern retail. Yet, Kresge's impact is still remembered fondly. The sense of discovery, the excitement of finding a bargain, and the quiet familiarity of a neighborhood store that seemed to exist just for you. Looking back, Kresge represents more than just a retailer. It symbolizes a chapter in Canadian social history. It was a place where families connected, children dreamed, and communities gathered in small, meaningful ways. In today's world dominated by online marketplaces and massive discount chains, Kresge lives on in nostalgia, reminding Canadians of the charm, simplicity, and personal touch that made shopping an experience, not just a transaction. Kmart Canada, nationwide. For many Canadians in the 1970s through the 1990s, Kmart was the quintessential discount store, a place where practicality, affordability, and convenience converged under one roof. As a Canadian extension of the American retail giant, Kmart brought the big box shopping experience to cities and towns across the country, offering everything from clothing and toys to household goods and electronics. Walking into a Kmart store was an adventure in itself. Long, brightly lit aisles stacked with merchandise, the faint hum of cash registers, and the gentle chaos of families navigating shopping carts filled with weekly essentials. For parents, it was a reliable destination to stretch the household budget. For children, it was a playground of bright toys and seasonal delights. Kmart's appeal was in its broad selection and accessible pricing. Shoppers could outfit a home, refresh a wardrobe, or pick up a birthday gift, all without breaking the bank. Its clothing lines offered casual and workwear options, often reflecting contemporary trends in an affordable way, while the toy and hobby sections sparked imagination and excitement. Household and seasonal items were displayed with practicality in mind, helping customers plan for everything from school supplies to holiday decorations. Staff were approachable and helpful, adding a personal touch that made shopping feel manageable even on busy weekends. Kmart became a one-stop solution for many Canadian families, blending efficiency with the occasional thrill of unexpected discoveries. Beyond its products, Kmart was a cultural touchstone. It reflected a period when Canadian retail was embracing the concept of the big box store, a precursor to the mega retailers of today. For small towns, it was a significant hub of commerce and social interaction, offering a space where neighbors crossed paths and families made shopping an outing rather than a chore. Seasonal promotions, in-store signage, and sales events created anticipation and excitement, fostering a sense of connection to the broader rhythm of Canadian life. In many ways, Kmart represented both practicality and a modest aspiration. Quality goods at prices that allowed families to enjoy life a little more comfortably. The story of Kmart Canada, however, is also a story of decline. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, increased competition from Walmart, changes in consumer behavior, and operational challenges led to store closures and a diminished presence in the Canadian market. For those who grew up with Kmart, its disappearance marked the end of a familiar, comforting retail era, Memories linger of the wide aisles, the discounted treasures, the toy section that ignited childhood excitement, and the sense of reliability that few modern stores replicate. Looking back, Kmart Canada stands as a symbol of an era when shopping was a shared experience, blending efficiency, affordability, and a sense of adventure. In today's world of online convenience and impersonal mega chains, Kmart lives on in memory as a reminder of a time when a discount store could also be a community hub, a place of discovery, and a cornerstone of family life. Woodward's, Vancouver. For generations of Vancouverites, Woodward's was more than a department store. It was a landmark, a cultural hub, and a symbol of the city's mid-century retail sophistication. Founded in 1892, Woodward's became synonymous with quality, variety, and community-minded shopping. Its flagship store in downtown Vancouver offered an experience that blended practicality with delight. Polished floors, well-organized merchandise, and a sense of grandeur that made shopping feel like an event rather than a chore. Families, teenagers, and professionals alike flocked to the store, drawn not just by its products, but by the vibrant atmosphere and the promise of discovery around every corner. Woodward's was notable for its extensive range of offerings, from fashion and home goods to toys, sporting equipment, and groceries. The store aimed to provide everything under one roof. Seasonal displays were legendary, particularly during the holidays, when the windows and interior were transformed into festive spectacles that drew crowds from across the city. Children remembered the toy departments as miniature wonderlands, while parents appreciated the practical, well-priced household goods and clothing lines. The store also carried specialty items, such as imported goods and unique kitchenware, which set it apart from more utilitarian competitors. Every visit was an opportunity to browse, explore, and imagine, whether for a planned purchase or a spontaneous treat. Woodward's was not just a store, but a social and cultural anchor in Vancouver. The store's cafeteria, complete with the iconic food floor, allowed shoppers to linger over lunch or coffee, creating a sense of community and casual connection that modern retail struggles to replicate. Local traditions like holiday events, in-store promotions, and employee-led demonstrations further cemented Woodward's role in the city's daily life. The staff were often friendly and familiar, adding personal touches that made shopping feel both efficient and human. In a sense, Woodward's combined the utility of a department store with the charm of a neighborhood gathering place, a rare balance that endeared it to generations. Despite its prominence, Woodward's could not survive the changing tides of retail in the late 20th century. Competition from national chains, shifts in consumer habits, and financial challenges ultimately led to its closure in the early 1990s. Vancouver mourned the loss, as it marked the end of a retail era where department stores were not just commercial centers, but cultural and social institutions. The memories remain vivid. The excitement of browsing seasonal displays, the joy of discovering unique items, and the sense of connection fostered by a store that felt woven into the fabric of city life. Today, Woodward's is remembered as an iconic part of Vancouver's history, representing a time when shopping was an experience rich with atmosphere, community, and possibility. In an era dominated by impersonal big box stores and online retail, Woodward's lives on in memory as a reminder of the charm, personal touch, and cultural significance that department stores once held, a place where commerce and community met in perfect harmony. T. Eaton Catalog nationwide. Before online shopping made browsing a click away, the T. Eaton Catalog was the ultimate gateway to consumer possibility for Canadians. Introduced by the iconic Eaton's department store, the catalog was more than a list of products. It was a ritual, a treasured household item that arrived in mailboxes across the country like a small package of wonder. Families would gather around it, flipping through glossy pages filled with clothing, toys, furniture, and household essentials, imagining the possibilities each item held. For children, it was a source of dreams, where the latest doll or toy train could spark months of anticipation, while adults used it to plan everything from school wardrobes to home upgrades, often stretching their budgets creatively to make a wish list come true. The catalog's charm lay in its accessibility and reach. It allowed Canadians from urban centers to remote towns to access the same products, bridging distances and democratizing shopping in a way few other tools had at the time. Every page was carefully designed, with illustrations, product descriptions, and prices that encouraged careful browsing. Seasonal editions, particularly the Christmas catalog, became cultural events, with children counting down the days until it arrived, marking the start of holiday planning and excitement. The catalog was also practical. Families could compare items, check sizes and prices, and order from home, making it an indispensable tool for households across the country. Using the Eaton catalog was an experience in itself. Orders were placed via mail or in-store, and waiting for the delivery was part of the ritual, building anticipation and excitement. Parents cherished the catalog as a budgeting tool, while children pored over pictures, making mental notes of what they hoped to receive. It wasn't just about acquiring goods. It was about the joy of dreaming, planning, and imagining the life you could create with each selection. For many Canadians, the catalog represented both opportunity and aspiration, embodying a unique blend of practicality and wonder. The rise of department stores in every city and the eventual shift toward online shopping eventually rendered the catalog obsolete. Its final editions were produced in the late 20th century, marking the end of an era where physical mail brought joy, excitement, and a sense of connection to a broader community of shoppers. Yet the T. Eaton catalog remains a beloved symbol of Canadian history, evoking nostalgia for simpler times, when shopping was slower, more deliberate, and more personal. Looking back, the Eaton catalog is remembered not just as a retail tool, but as a cultural touchstone. It reflects a time when discovery was tactile, patience was part of the process, and imagination was as important as acquisition. In today's digital world, where convenience often outweighs experience, the catalog stands as a reminder of the delight found in anticipation, planning, and shared family moments. A unique Canadian treasure that left a lasting imprint on generations of shoppers. Famous players. Video stores nationwide. For Canadians who came of age in the 1980s and 1990s, Famous Players video stores were the go-to destinations for weekend entertainment, a magical place where the thrill of cinema extended into the aisles of VHS tapes and later, DVDs. These stores weren't just about renting movies. They were about ritual, choice, and the small joys of discovering stories that could transport you from your living room to far-off worlds. Walking through the fluorescent lit aisles, lined with cardboard boxes and colorful labels, you could spend hours browsing titles, reading plot summaries, or debating with friends over which film to take home. For teenagers and families alike, a trip to Famous Players was an experience, an outing that blended anticipation, social interaction, and a touch of cinematic glamour. The stores offered a remarkable breadth of selections. New releases competed for attention alongside classics, cult favorites, and hidden gems waiting to be discovered. From blockbuster hits to indie treasures, the collection reflected both the popular culture of the time and a love for storytelling in all its forms. Staff were often enthusiastic film fans themselves, providing recommendations, organizing displays by genre, and helping customers navigate the sometimes overwhelming selection. The rental process, complete with the flipping of index cards or scanning of barcodes, added to the tactile pleasure of the experience, something that today's instant streaming cannot replicate. Famous Players video stores also played a social role in communities. Teenagers often made trips a mini-event, browsing, chatting, and occasionally lingering in the aisles while parents ran errands. Families would make movie nights a ritual, carefully selecting films, popcorn, and snacks to create a full home theater experience. There was a sense of discovery that extended beyond the screen. The act of selecting a movie, sometimes taking a risk on an unknown title, fostered conversation, imagination, and shared anticipation. For many, these visits marked formative experiences, introducing new genres, sparking creative ideas, and creating memories tied to friends and family. Yet, the rise of digital media and on-demand streaming eventually rendered the physical video store obsolete. By the 2000s, Famous Players video stores gradually closed, leaving Canadians nostalgic for a tactile, social, and memorable way to consume films. What remains is a collective memory of standing in the aisles, debating titles, and the excitement of carrying a plastic bag filled with cinematic possibilities back home. Today, Famous Players video stores are remembered not just as businesses, but as cultural touchstones that captured a particular moment in Canadian life. They remind us of a time when entertainment was deliberate, communal, and tangible, a far cry from the anonymous convenience of streaming services. For many, these stores evoke warmth, nostalgia, and the simple joy of discovering a film, a story, or a world waiting just around the corner. Beaver Lumber nationwide. Beaver Lumber was a name that many Canadians associated with practicality, reliability, and the satisfaction of rolling up your sleeves and tackling a project. Founded in the late 19th century, the chain became a staple across towns and cities, offering everything a homeowner, builder, or DIY enthusiast could need to create, repair, or improve. From lumber and plywood to nails, paint, and power tools, Beaver Lumber's aisles were stocked with the materials and inspiration to bring ideas to life. Walking into one of its stores was an experience in itself. The smell of fresh-cut wood mingled with the quiet hum of activity, while staff members, often seasoned craftsmen, offered advice, guidance, and practical know-how that made even the most ambitious projects feel achievable. What set Beaver Lumber apart was its combination of accessibility and expertise. The stores were designed for everyone, from professional contractors to first-time DIYers, providing tools, hardware, and building materials alongside practical advice. For families, it was the place to find supplies for home improvements, seasonal projects, or simple repairs, while hobbyists discovered a treasure trove of wood, nails, and paint to fuel their creativity. Staff members were often more than clerks. They were guides who could answer questions about measurements, materials, and techniques, fostering a sense of confidence and community among customers. The aisles themselves were a playground of possibilities, stocked with everything a practical mind could imagine. Beaver Lumber also reflected a period in Canadian life when DIY culture was both practical and aspirational. Home ownership was on the rise, and families took pride in their ability to repair, improve, or build from scratch. A trip to Beaver Lumber wasn't just a chore, it was a planning session, an educational experience, and occasionally a family outing. Children might tag along, watching a parent measure wood or paint a sample, learning the basics of craftsmanship while absorbing the store's industrious atmosphere. There was a rhythm to the experience: planning, selecting, measuring, and executing, all under the reassuring roof of a store that understood the needs of its customers. Despite its long-standing presence, Beaver Lumber eventually became part of home hardware in the 1990s, and the brand slowly disappeared from the Canadian landscape. Yet the memories linger of the distinctive smell of fresh timber, the thrill of a successful DIY project, and the satisfaction of walking out with exactly what you needed. For many Canadians, Beaver Lumber was more than a store. It was a partner in home building, a source of knowledge, and a place where ambition met practicality. Today, Beaver Lumber lives on in nostalgia as a symbol of hands-on Canadian ingenuity, a reminder of a time when building, repairing, and creating were communal, educational, and deeply satisfying experiences. In a world increasingly dominated by pre-assembled goods and online convenience, Beaver Lumber evokes warmth, craftsmanship, and the simple pleasure of making something with your own hands. Consumers distributing nationwide. For Canadians growing up in the 1970s and 1980s, consumers distributing was a curious and exciting shopping experience, unlike any other. Unlike conventional stores, it operated through a catalog system inside its own storefronts. Customers browsed printed catalogs, filled out order forms, and watched as staff retrieved their chosen items from the stockroom. This unique approach made shopping feel both interactive and magical, turning what might have been a routine errand into a mini adventure. The process encouraged browsing, comparing, and sometimes even playful negotiation as families explored the wide array of products waiting to be discovered. The appeal of consumers distributing lay in its broad and surprising selection. From clothing, toys, and electronics to small appliances, home decor, and sporting goods, the store offered items that often weren't readily available at local retailers. Children especially loved the toy sections with their colorful pages and enticing photographs, while teenagers and adults found practical gadgets, electronics, and fashion that fit their needs and budgets. The store combined affordability with the thrill of discovery, creating a shopping experience that balanced practicality with imagination. For many, it was a place to dream a little, to plan for birthdays or holidays, or simply to window shop while anticipating the day an item might be purchased. Consumers Distributing was also socially engaging. Its unique catalog system often sparked curiosity and conversation among shoppers, and employees were typically helpful guides who could locate items efficiently and offer advice on popular products. Families could make an outing of their visit, spending hours filling out forms, exploring the displays, and imagining the possibilities of their selections. The process was deliberate and tactile. Writing down choices, handing the forms to staff, and waiting for retrieval added a level of anticipation and satisfaction that modern convenience stores or online shopping rarely replicate. However, the rise of big box stores, changing consumer expectations, and the advent of online shopping eventually rendered the concept obsolete. By the early 1990s, Consumers Distributing had disappeared from the Canadian retail landscape, leaving behind fond memories for those who had grown up with its unique charm. People remember more than the products. They remember the anticipation, the playful interaction with the catalog, and the sense of control and engagement in choosing what they wanted. Looking back, Consumers Distributing stands as a nostalgic emblem of a particular era in Canadian retail, a time when shopping required patience, planning, and a hands-on approach. In an age of instant gratification and endless online options, the store reminds Canadians of a slower, more interactive form of commerce, where the thrill of selecting, waiting, and finally receiving a coveted item was part of the joy. Its memory lives on as a quirky, beloved chapter in the story of Canadian shopping culture. Canadian Tire in its early years, nationwide. Long before Canadian Tire became the ubiquitous retail giant we know today, its early years painted a picture of resourcefulness, practicality, and distinctly Canadian ingenuity. Founded in 1922 in Toronto as a small tire shop, the company quickly expanded into a one-stop destination for automotive needs, hardware, and household essentials, catering to a growing population eager for reliability and quality. Walking into an early Canadian Tire was a straightforward, no-frills experience. Shelves lined with tires, tools, and car parts. The smell of rubber and oil mingling with the scent of freshly unpacked goods. And staff ready to guide customers with the practical know-how that defined the brand. For many Canadians, it was less about shopping as recreation and more about finding the right tool or product to solve a problem, whether fixing a car, patching a roof, or tackling a DIY project at home. What made early Canadian Tire remarkable was its focus on utility and trust. Families and tradespeople alike relied on the store's carefully curated inventory, knowing that each product met a standard of quality and reliability. Beyond tires, the store carried automotive accessories, hand tools, and basic household items, slowly expanding to meet the evolving needs of its customers. Its catalog system, which later became iconic, allowed Canadians from urban centers to remote rural areas to access the same products, bridging distances and making home improvement and vehicle maintenance more achievable for every household. For many, the early Canadian Tire represented more than convenience. It was a partner in everyday life, a place where problems were solved and projects brought to life. The store also reflected the growing DIY culture in Canada during the mid-20th century. As homeownership expanded and families took pride in maintaining and improving their properties, Canadian Tire became a central hub for materials, advice, and inspiration. Children tagging along might peek at shelves of small toys or automotive gadgets, while parents carefully considered tools, paints, and repair kits. The tactile experience of selecting items, handling them, and imagining their use in real-world projects created a sense of engagement and anticipation that many modern retailers have lost. Despite its modest beginnings, Canadian Tire laid the groundwork for what would become a nationwide institution. Its emphasis on practicality, customer service, and accessibility forged a deep connection with Canadians, one that extended beyond transactions to encompass trust, reliability, and community. The brand's early years remain a symbol of an era when retail was functional, personal, and grounded in everyday problem solving. Today, looking back at Canadian Tire's beginnings offers a nostalgic glimpse into a simpler, more hands-on approach to shopping. It reminds Canadians that retail can be both practical and personal, that stores can serve as community touchstones, and that ingenuity and resourcefulness, qualities central to Canadian identity, can be found even in a humble tire shop. For those who remember those early days, Canadian Tire was never just a store, it was a cornerstone of daily life, a partner in work and play, and a quiet emblem of Canadian resilience and practicality. Bata shoe stores nationwide. Bata shoe stores were a familiar sight in towns and cities across Canada. Offering more than just footwear, they provided a sense of style, quality, and reliability for generations of Canadians. Founded in the early 20th century by the Bata family, the chain expanded rapidly, bringing well-made, affordable shoes to communities large and small. Walking into a Bata store in its heyday was a straightforward but comforting experience. Neatly arranged shelves displaying polished leather shoes, sturdy boots, and casual footwear, the faint smell of leather in the air, and staff ready to measure, fit, and advise with care. For families, Bata was a dependable destination, a place where children's growing feet, professional wardrobes, and casual weekend shoes could all be accommodated under one roof. The appeal of Bata lay in its combination of practicality and accessibility. The stores offered a wide range of footwear for every age, occasion, and season, emphasizing quality that lasted while remaining affordable. Children's shoes were a particular highlight, with styles that balanced durability and comfort with playful designs that delighted kids. Adults could find everything from sturdy work boots to polished dress shoes, along with casual options for everyday wear. Bata's staff were known for their personal attention, helping customers find the right size, style, and fit, an approach that created trust and loyalty over decades. Bata shoe stores were more than retail spaces. They were part of the social fabric of Canadian life. Shopping there often meant interaction, advice, and connection, whether a parent helping a child choose the first pair of school shoes, or a young adult picking out their first pair of business shoes. The stores became markers of milestones, first day of school, new job, or family outings, embedding themselves in memories of everyday life and special occasions alike. The ritual of visiting Bata, trying on shoes, and walking around the store in new footwear fostered a sense of anticipation and satisfaction that modern online shopping struggles to replicate. Despite their widespread presence, changing retail trends, increased competition, and the rise of global footwear brands eventually led to the decline of Bata stores in Canada. The brand gradually receded, leaving behind fond memories of polished floors, friendly staff, and the dependable quality that had made Bata a household name. Yet for many Canadians, Bata represents more than just shoes. It embodies a period in retail history where customer service, product quality, and community presence were inseparable. Today, Bata shoe stores live on in memory as an emblem of mid-20th century Canadian shopping culture. They remind us of a time when purchasing shoes was a personal, tactile experience, when local stores nurtured connections and reliability mattered as much as style. Bata was more than a store. It was a partner in everyday life, a place of practicality and care, and a touchstone of nostalgia for the generations who grew up walking its aisles. Loblaws in its early years, nationwide. In the early 20th century, Loblaws was more than just a grocery store. It was a revolution in Canadian retail, reshaping how families shop for food and everyday essentials. Founded in 1919 in Toronto by Theodore Loblaw and J. Milton Cork, the chain introduced the concept of self-service grocery shopping to Canada, a radical departure from the traditional model of clerks behind counters. Shoppers could now browse aisles at their own pace, select products from shelves, and bring them to a checkout counter, an experience that felt empowering, efficient, and slightly magical. For families, this was a game changer. Suddenly, grocery shopping was no longer a rushed transactional chore, but a hands-on exploratory experience. The early Loblaws stores were known for their bright, well-organized interiors and focus on quality products. Fresh produce, dairy, and meats were complemented by dry goods, household staples, and a growing selection of packaged foods. Pricing was competitive, but the emphasis was equally on freshness, cleanliness, and reliability. Loblaw's innovative approach included clearly labeled products, standardized pricing, and promotional deals that encouraged repeat visits. For shoppers in both urban and suburban communities, the stores became a dependable destination for everyday life, whether stocking up for a family dinner or planning for a special occasion. Beyond convenience, Loblaws embodied a philosophy of accessibility and community-mindedness. The chain introduced the no-frills approach long before it became a widely recognized concept, offering quality goods in a straightforward, service-oriented environment. Store employees were knowledgeable and approachable, often guiding customers through unfamiliar products or offering advice on recipes and meal planning. For children and teenagers accompanying parents, Loblaws was also a place of subtle education, teaching the basics of budgeting, selection, and the rhythm of weekly shopping. A visit to Loblaws became more than errands. It was part of family life, a structured yet flexible routine that fostered a sense of stability and predictability. The chain's early success laid the groundwork for what would become one of Canada's most iconic grocery brands. Loblaw's vision for modern self-service shopping helped define Canadian retail culture and shaped consumer expectations for decades to come. Its influence extended beyond groceries, eventually spawning innovations in private label brands, in-store services, and national expansion. But its beginnings remained rooted in practicality, reliability, and a commitment to serving Canadian families. Looking back, early Loblaws stores evoke nostalgia for a time when shopping was both an adventure and a ritual, when aisles invited exploration, and when grocery trips were a shared, hands-on family experience. In today's age of online orders, automated checkouts, and mega stores, Loblaws' early years remind Canadians of the value of simplicity, community, and the tactile pleasures of selecting fresh ingredients with care. A legacy that continues to influence the way the country shops even a century later. A&P Canada nationwide. A&P Canada holds a special place in the memories of Canadians who grew up in the mid-20th century, representing reliability, accessibility, and the comforting ritual of grocery shopping. Originally part of the American-based The Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, A&P expanded into Canada in the early 1900s, bringing a modern, organized approach to food retail that was still relatively novel at the time. Walking into an A&P store was a straightforward, almost reassuring experience. Neatly stocked shelves of canned goods, fresh produce, dairy, and household staples, bright signage guiding customers to essentials, and helpful staff ready to provide advice or locate specific items. For families, the store became a trusted stop in the rhythm of weekly shopping, a place where practicality met quality and predictability provided comfort in an ever-changing world. What set A&P apart was its focus on accessibility and consistency. Prices were competitive, and the stores offered a wide variety of products that catered to the needs of diverse Canadian households. The produce section was carefully curated, featuring seasonal fruits and vegetables alongside staples, while dry goods and canned items reflected both domestic favorites and international flavors. Parents appreciated the reliability of the brand, knowing that the groceries they purchased would meet standards of freshness and quality. For children, A&P offered small pleasures, whether a candy treat at the checkout or the excitement of visiting familiar aisles with colorful packaging that invited exploration. A&P Canada also played an important social and cultural role. Stores often served as community hubs, where neighbors would cross paths, exchange news, and enjoy a sense of connection while running errands. Employees were generally friendly and approachable, fostering a sense of familiarity that made shopping a more personal experience. Seasonal promotions, in-store displays, and loyalty programs encouraged engagement and excitement, making grocery shopping a small but meaningful event in daily life. Families came not just to purchase goods, but to participate in a shared experience that blended utility with comfort and occasional delight. Over time, A&P Canada faced increased competition from expanding national chains, shifts in consumer habits, and the challenges of modern retail consolidation. By the late 20th century, many stores were sold, rebranded, or closed, leaving a nostalgic void for those who had grown up with the brand. For many Canadians, memories of A&P are less about specific purchases and more about the rituals, the interactions, and the dependable presence of a store that felt woven into family life and community rhythm. Today, A&P Canada is remembered as a cornerstone of Canadian grocery history, a symbol of practical shopping, trust, and community engagement. Its legacy endures in the way Canadians recall the tactile pleasures of browsing well-stocked aisles, the excitement of planning family meals, and the reassurance that reliable products and friendly service can provide. A&P represents an era when grocery shopping was both functional and familiar, a shared experience that left a lasting imprint on Canadian culture and memory. McLaughlin's Toy Stores nationwide. For generations of Canadian children, McLaughlin's Toy Stores were more than just shops. They were wonderlands filled with imagination, excitement, and the promise of endless play. Founded in the early 20th century, McLaughlin's became a household name for families seeking toys that combined quality, charm, and a touch of magic. Walking into a McLaughlin's store was a sensory delight. The bright colors of carefully arranged toys, the rustle of packaging, the faint scent of new books and wooden toys, and the eager anticipation in children's eyes as they explored aisles stacked with dolls, trains, games, and puzzles. Parents, meanwhile, appreciated the reliability and craftsmanship of the merchandise, knowing that a purchase from McLaughlin's would bring joy and stand the test of time. What set McLaughlin's apart was its dedication to creating an experience, rather than simply selling products. Each store was designed to spark curiosity and imagination, from themed displays to interactive setups where children could see toys in action. The staff were often knowledgeable and enthusiastic, offering recommendations, demonstrating products, and sharing the excitement of new arrivals. This personal touch helped families feel welcomed and valued, creating a sense of community that extended beyond mere transactions. Seasonal events, particularly around Christmas, turned shopping into a ritual. Children would marvel at elaborate window displays, plan their wish lists, and imagine the thrill of opening a carefully chosen toy on the holiday morning. McLaughlin's toy stores were also culturally significant, reflecting the evolution of Canadian childhood and play over decades. The stores mirrored societal trends, stocking items that captured the zeitgeist, from classic wooden toys and board games to dolls, action figures, and early electronics. For children, each visit was an educational and imaginative adventure, while parents navigated selections with an eye for both quality and value. The ritual of visiting McLaughlin's, choosing a toy, and experiencing the anticipation of taking it home became a formative part of childhood memories, forging connections between families and the shared joy of play. Despite its popularity, McLaughlin's could not escape the changing retail landscape. The rise of large chain stores, discount retailers, and eventually online shopping led to its gradual decline, leaving behind a sense of nostalgia for those who grew up exploring its aisles. Memories of McLaughlin's are vivid. The excitement of discovering a new toy, the festive atmosphere of holiday shopping, and the warm interactions with staff who shared in the delight of childhood. Today, McLaughlin's toy stores live on in memory as a symbol of a bygone era of Canadian retail, when shopping for toys was an immersive, joyful experience. The stores remind us of a time when careful curation, personal service, and imaginative displays made each visit memorable. A cherished chapter in Canada's cultural and retail history, where the simple act of choosing a toy could spark wonder, learning, and lifelong nostalgia. Horizon Records, Toronto and nationwide. Horizon Records was more than a record store. It was a cultural hub for music lovers across Toronto and eventually throughout Canada. Founded in the 1970s, Horizon became known for its extensive selection of vinyl, cassettes, and later CDs, offering everything from rock and jazz to folk, classical, and emerging independent artists. Walking into a Horizon store was like stepping into a sanctuary for music aficionados. The smell of vinyl mingled with the faint scent of coffee from a nearby cafe. Rows of carefully categorized albums beckoned exploration, and the soft hum of background music set the tone for hours of browsing. For teenagers, young adults, and collectors alike, Horizon Records was a place to discover new sounds, connect with like-minded fans, and immerse themselves in the culture of music that defined the era. The appeal of Horizon lay in its curated selection and knowledgeable staff. Unlike larger, impersonal chains, Horizon emphasized quality, variety, and personalized service. Employees were passionate about music themselves, offering recommendations, discussing the merits of emerging artists, and helping customers navigate genres and new releases. The stores often hosted listening stations where shoppers could sample albums before committing, creating an interactive and educational experience that encouraged curiosity and exploration. Independent artists and niche genres found a home at Horizon, giving Canadians access to music they might not have encountered elsewhere, fostering a sense of discovery and community. Horizon Records was more than retail. It was a social and cultural space. Fans would meet to discuss new releases, trade recommendations, or simply share their enthusiasm for the latest records. Special events, album launches, and signings transformed the stores into gathering spots where music culture was celebrated and nurtured. For many, visiting Horizon became a ritual. Weekends spent exploring racks, discovering hidden gems, and savoring the thrill of new sounds. It was a place where personal taste was valued, and the tactile experience of flipping through vinyl and reading liner notes added to the emotional connection with music, a dimension often missing from today's digital streaming experience. Despite its devoted following, Horizon Records eventually faced the challenges of an evolving music industry. The rise of big box retailers, the advent of online shopping, and the shift from physical media to digital downloads and streaming gradually eroded its market presence. Stores closed, leaving behind memories of a distinctive shopping experience where music wasn't just bought, it was celebrated, shared, and lived. Today, Horizon Records is remembered fondly by Canadians as a symbol of a vibrant pre-digital music culture. It evokes nostalgia for a time when discovering an album was an adventure, when staff guidance and tactile browsing mattered, and when record stores served as vital cultural touchpoints. Horizon represents a chapter in Canadian music history, where shopping was immersive, community-driven, and inseparable from the joy of listening, learning, and connecting through sound. Food City, various provinces. Food City was a familiar name for Canadian families seeking a dependable grocery store experience that combined variety, convenience, and affordability. Established in the mid-20th century, the chain expanded across several provinces, providing communities with access to fresh produce, meat, dairy, and pantry staples in a straightforward, approachable environment. Walking into a Food City store was a comforting routine. Neatly arranged aisles, vibrant displays of seasonal fruits and vegetables, and the inviting aroma of freshly baked bread greeted shoppers as they moved through the space. For many families, Food City wasn't just a store, it was a trusted partner in daily life. a place where the weekly ritual of grocery shopping was manageable, efficient, and occasionally even enjoyable. The appeal of Food City lay in its balance of selection and practicality. Stores offered a wide array of products to meet the needs of diverse households, from everyday essentials like canned goods, dairy, and cleaning supplies to specialty items and seasonal treats. Shoppers could count on consistent quality, competitive pricing, and helpful staff who made the experience approachable, even for first-time customers or those navigating a tight budget. For children accompanying parents, the store offered small joys, brightly packaged cereals, sweets at the checkout, or the excitement of choosing a treat while helping with grocery selections. Food City struck a careful balance between practicality and pleasure, making grocery shopping feel purposeful yet accessible. Food City also held a subtle but significant social role in the communities it served. Beyond providing food, it was a place where neighbors encountered one another, exchanged greetings, and shared the rhythms of everyday life. Staff members were familiar faces, offering advice, suggestions, and a friendly presence that added warmth to routine errands. Weekly specials and seasonal promotions became minor events, giving shoppers a sense of anticipation and participation in local commerce. In many ways, Food City exemplified the mid-20th century ideal of the neighborhood grocery store. Practical, welcoming, and tuned to the needs of its community. However, the rise of larger national chains, superstores, and changing consumer habits eventually led to the decline of Food City. Locations were rebranded, sold, or closed, leaving behind a nostalgia for the simple, reliable shopping experience it once provided. Canadians remember Food City not just for its products, but for the feeling of entering a store where familiarity, consistency, and care were part of the everyday shopping ritual. Today, Food City is fondly recalled as a symbol of a bygone era in Canadian retail, when grocery shopping was a shared tactile experience that blended practicality with a sense of community. It stands as a reminder of the charm and reliability of local grocery stores, where shopping was both necessary and comforting, a space where families, neighbors, and employees intersected in the simple yet meaningful pursuit of nourishment and everyday life. Bargain Harold's, Ontario. Bargain Harold's was a staple of Ontario's retail scene, offering bargain hunters a mix of practicality, variety, and the unmistakable thrill of a good deal. Founded in the mid-20th century, the chain became synonymous with discount shopping, where families could stretch their budgets without sacrificing quality. Walking into a Bargain Harold store was an experience in itself. Aisles packed with clothing, household goods, toys, and seasonal items. The scent of new merchandise mingling with the faint aroma of store fixtures, and shelves brimming with possibilities that invited careful exploration. For many Ontarians, a trip to Bargain Harold's wasn't just a shopping excursion, it was a mini adventure full of surprises, occasional treasures, and the satisfying challenge of finding something special at a fraction of the usual price. The appeal of Bargain Harold's lay in its diverse inventory and value-oriented approach. Customers could find clothing for the entire family, kitchenware, school supplies, and small appliances, all priced to make budgets go further. Parents appreciated the opportunity to outfit children, furnish homes, or pick up practical household items without overspending, while teens and young adults hunted for stylish or quirky finds that reflected their tastes. The stores often carried seasonal and clearance items, creating a sense of urgency and excitement. Every visit promised the possibility of discovering a hidden gem. Staff were generally approachable and helpful, guiding shoppers and making the experience feel personalized despite the busy, bustling environment. Bargain heralds also played a social and cultural role in Ontario communities. Stores became gathering points where neighbors ran into each other, shared tips about the best deals, and experienced the small joys of everyday shopping together. The stores encouraged browsing, conversation, and sometimes playful negotiation, making shopping both an economic and social activity. For families, a trip to Bargain Heralds was often part of a weekend routine, teaching children lessons about value, choice, and patience, while offering moments of excitement as they found something they truly wanted. Over time, however, Bargain Heralds faced challenges from larger discount chains, big box retailers, and shifting consumer habits. By the late 20th century, the chain had disappeared from the retail landscape, leaving behind memories of its unique blend of affordability, variety, and community engagement. Canadians remember it not just as a store, but as a cultural touchstone where bargain hunting was an art, where everyday purchases became small adventures, and where families shared in the joys of discovering more for less. Today, Bargain Heralds evokes nostalgia for a time when shopping was tactile, intentional, and community-oriented. It reminds Ontarians of an era when discounts didn't mean compromise, when stores fostered connections, and when the thrill of finding a great deal could brighten an ordinary day. It stands as a symbol of practical ingenuity, local retail culture, and the enduring appeal of discovering value in unexpected places. Dominion Stores, nationwide. Dominion Stores was a cornerstone of Canadian grocery shopping for much of the 20th century, representing reliability, quality, and the steady rhythm of everyday life. Founded in 1919, the chain grew to become one of Canada's most recognizable supermarket brands, offering families across the country access to fresh produce, meats, dairy, and pantry staples in a welcoming, organized environment. Walking into a Dominion store was a sensory experience. The smell of fresh bread from in-store bakeries mingled with the earthy aroma of vegetables. The hum of refrigerators underscored the activity of shoppers, and neatly arranged aisles invited exploration and careful selection. For Canadian families, these stores weren't just places to purchase food. They were dependable companions in daily routines, supporting everything from weeknight dinners to holiday feasts. The appeal of Dominion stores lay in their consistency and community presence. Each location provided a broad selection of items at reasonable prices, making it possible for households of all sizes and incomes to find what they needed without compromise. Fresh produce was carefully displayed, meats were cut to order, and packaged goods were stocked to meet diverse tastes and culinary needs. Staff members were known for their helpfulness and familiarity, often offering advice on meal planning, product substitutions, or recipe ideas. Children accompanying parents might marvel at colorful cereal boxes or small treats at checkout, creating small moments of delight that made grocery shopping more than just a chore. Dominion stores also served as a social hub in many communities. Shoppers would exchange greetings, compare recipes, and occasionally share a tip about seasonal produce or a special deal, turning routine errands into small opportunities for connection. Weekly promotions and store events added a sense of anticipation and participation, while the careful organization and accessibility of the stores ensured that customers felt confident navigating each visit. For many, Dominion stores became a familiar, reassuring presence, an anchor in both urban and suburban neighborhoods, offering dependability and a touch of warmth in daily life. Over time, Dominion stores faced increasing competition from expanding national chains and emerging big-box retailers. The brand gradually disappeared, with many locations rebranded or absorbed into other chains, leaving behind a sense of nostalgia for those who had grown up with its familiar aisles and trusted products. Canadians remember Dominion not just for what it sold, but for the experience it offered. The joy of finding fresh ingredients, the comfort of reliable service, and the small but meaningful rituals of grocery shopping as a family. Today, Dominion stores live on in memory as a symbol of a bygone era of Canadian retail, evoking nostalgia for thoughtful shopping, community engagement, and a time when grocery stores were both practical and personal. They remind Canadians of the value of quality, consistency, and human connection in everyday life. A legacy that continues to influence how people approach food, family, and community, even decades after the last store closed its doors. And there you have it, a trip down memory lane through 21 iconic Canadian stores that are sadly lost to time. Which ones do you remember visiting? Or which ones bring back the fondest memories? Share your stories in the comments. And if this stroll through nostalgia brought a smile, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with fellow Canadians who love remembering the past. Let's keep these memories alive together.